Hello, boss ladies designing. As promised, I am going to do a tutorial on how to do a fabric cover on a cup tumbler. I know a lot of people just do the glitter and paint, but I like to do the fabric instead. Actually gives a little dimension, gives you extra versatility on color, designs, and whatever you want. So first thing is I got these at Walmart. They're marked down now from like $10 to $9. So I think they basically took $1 off. So the cup, this is a 24-ounce cup, cotton material. I bought this at Walmart. These are like quilter square or crafter square. I think Walmart calls them a fat square. They range from 97 cents for the solid colors all the way up to like $8 for a 4-pack of different colors. The other thing that I use the Mod Podge dishwasher safe gloss because this is it dries a lot harder than this one. I tried this on another cup and hated it, so I use this one. It just gives a harder dry, and this I normally do. Most folks that do the fabrics, they will tell you 4 to 5, maybe 6 coats of Mod Podge. That's because they're using this one. I found with this one, I can go as little as 2 depending on the color of the material. So without further ado, I will get started. So first thing is cut the material. I like to have at least 1 inch on the bottom part of it and 1 inch at the top. That way I know everything is going to be covered completely. And then so this is this piece of material, I usually go with 11 by 13. So if you get a crafter square or a fat square at Walmart, you'll be able to get at least 4 cups out of 1 sheet of fabric, which is really good considering I paid 97 cents for this, and I'm gonna make $160 off of cups used with this material. So 13 inches in length. That's so once it's wrapped, I like to make sure I have enough overhang because the cup is not straight, so the material is going to curve, and you want to make sure you have enough to cover when you get ready to cut the seam. So here we go. So first thing, and I just kind of leave the material underneath to kind of protect my what do you call this? My cutting mat, because I do also do t-shirts, and right now I'm working on my cutting mat that I use for my t-shirts. So got to keep that protected because I actually have an order of shirts to go out next week. So these little sponge brushes that I use, bought these at what is it, the dollar store, not Dollar General, Dollar Tree. Yeah. So I think there was 6 in a pack for $1. Really great buy. So crafting is all about saving money, especially if you're selling. You want to save money at the same time while making money. So you want your ROI pretty high. So I'll take one of these footballs, which I got from Dollar Tree. Move that out the way, make sure the camera focuses. But this is the one that has the little arrow with sticking out the back that has, was it like the fins, right? I buy these because the rack that I use, I don't use a turner. I use the hang method. And the rack that I built for my hang method is actually a 1/2 inch. I used 1/2 inch pipe. Yeah, PVC piping. And it fits perfectly in this hole. No need to cut it. And it slides in and out of the PVC. So I'll just stick that in there now. So once I get going, I don't have to worry about trying to push that in there while I've got glue drying on the material and material hanging. So I'll do that. And like I said, I just do the glue, paint the glue on the cup while it's on here, just for added protection. I'll usually take a cotton swab or, yeah, a cotton swab or a cotton square that's soaked in alcohol, just to give it a good wipe to make sure that my glue is going to adhere pretty good. Want to make sure that there aren't any particles on here that will cause to have air pockets in your material once the glue dries, because as we all know, that will show up on your epoxy. So here we go. I always wear gloves because when I start fitting the material after I've cut it, once I start fitting the material on the seam, I like to use my hands, and I get full-fledged in there. So here we go. So I just slather it on, and I will always start by going this way first, right? And then when I go back around the second time, because I want to make sure I'm covered completely, I will go this way across the cup, and that's just to make sure that I haven't missed anything. And I'll do the same when I am once I put the material on. So you'll see that. One thing to remember when using this Mod Podge, this dishwasher safe one, is that if you leave a glob on the material, it's gonna dry with that glob on there. So if you're, it doesn't even matter if you're doing white or a light colored material, it will leave that glob on there. And let me tell you, ladies, it does not look like dried glue. It looks like dried, you know what, on the bed sheets the next morning. So you definitely do not want to leave a glob of it drying on the outside of the material. So got that on there, and what I'll try to always do is inside the cups there's a seam. I don't know if you can see that seam, but there's a seam where the manufacturer, where they weld it. So I always try to make sure my seam that I cut from the material is going to be lined up with that. So I just lay the cup down and start rolling. I don't roll it very tight in the beginning because I always want to give myself time for or room to stretch and maneuver the material. And I'll tell you why. Because these cups have this little groove in here, and you want to make sure that that groove is filled in and there's no air pockets like right here. Now, if it does happen, you can go back and fix that once you've started gluing, but it's a pain in the butt. But it's not like you have to take anything off. You just have to poke a hole in it and add more glue in that spot. And then I use rubber bands to hold it in place, because tape will leave a mark. Any kind of tape, washi tape, I don't care what it is. I've tried it all. Best thing is a rubber band, and then once it dries hard, you can go back and sand that down. So you can see I've pretty much gotten the wrinkles and everything out. Now see this seam right here? Once I start putting the Mod Podge on it and smoothing it out, that seam will go away. So and one thing about this stuff is once you put it on the cup and you put the material across it, it is going to dry super fast. Like I don't know why it does that. The other one that I tried did not do that. So yeah, so keep that in mind. See the little hangy threads? You don't want those under the material that you're getting ready to lay across. It's okay if it's over on this side, because you're going to end up cutting part of this off, right? So got that on there, right? And see how it seeps through? So kind of smooth that over, and you can see the underseam. So at this point, I will take whatever I have available. I know people are fancy and they have the little cup holders and everything, but I just hadn't gotten around to building one, right? So at this point, I'll lay it down, and I will take a piece of tape. Masking tape, duct tape, it doesn't matter what kind of tape it is, just some tape, right? So I'll take a piece of masking tape, and I'll make sure it's longer than the cup. And so I know that's the top of my cup, and that is the bottom of my cup right here. And my seam, original seam, is over here. So I want my cup as straight as possible, and I'm going to tape. I'm going to run the tape just like that, okay? And that's just a guide for me, okay? So once I've got that on there, fold that around. So, and that's the other advantage of having extra material. It gives you that extra hold for when you get ready to cut, because when you get ready to cut, you've got to make a clean cut all the way through, non-stop, because covering with the material, with the fabric, you can't do 2 and 3 cuts, because doing so will cause you to have thread ends, and it's a pain in the butt trying to get it out. You want to make sure you have a brand new razor blade when you do this, because again, you do not want to have to cut it more than once. You want to be able to cut it one good time. So I just use a regular box cutter. It's the cheapest. Again, Crafters. Yeah. So here we go. Wish me luck. So, and the reason for the tape is it helps you hold the material. Also, it kind of gives you a guideline as to how straight or crooked you're going. So I always try to just gauge it straight down the middle of the tape. If it gets off kiltered one way or the other, that's fine, because both the top and bottom piece of the material or fabric is being cut at the same time. So here we go. So, and it's a nice steady cut all the way down, all the way down, and that, right? So and you can, like, this is what I hate. You can tell you're on your metal against metal by the way the razor not only feels, but the way it sounds, right? So, yeah, this is like really taking a chance doing that. So, after I do that, I'll leave the tape on there, and I like to, on the excess side, I like to cut from the excess side on the top sheet. And the reason I do that is so that when I get ready to remove this material, I have that much extra layover on it, right? So once I get that part, I can turn it around, come over to this side, and remember, this is the extra side, so I'm going to cut from this side, right, into where I cut it, right? So now I've got that side cut. Now you will fold this back, okay? And when you fold it back, you'll see where you've cut this part. So now I've got extra on this side. So I'm going to cut from this side, right, into that seam or the cut part. And I'm going to pull this up just enough to get my scissors in that hole, right, to come through that hole and cut it. So as you can see, it's a nice clean cut. Go nice and easy pulling it up, right? Because see these little things right here? Those will start getting ragged. Your edges will get ragged, and that is the last thing you want to happen, because it's not fun trying to get those out. So cut that off, and voila. So now I've got my nice seam, and at this point I am going to take my extra material and I'm going to lay it down right there so I can do that to those seams, right? Because I don't want, when I pull the tape off, I don't want that to get my seams ragged. So on this one, I'm going to pull in right there, and make sure you have a good amount of glue, Mod Podge, going over the seam, because you don't want it to stick. I know y'all see all that thread, but sometimes you can hide it. Look at that little piece right there. So got that, and then I'm going to fold that over. Okay, now I've got that folded over, and for the finishing touch. Pull the tape off ever so nice and slowly, and there you go, you have your seam. So at this point I am going to take my part of my hanging stick and I'm going to put that in here because I am going to be using that, my hang dryer, to hold it while I work my material into the seam. So you all see what this looks like? Yeah, I know you do. And as grown ladies, yes, we have seen it. So you definitely do not want this to dry like this, especially on black material or any material for that matter. So here I'm just brushing it on the same way I did the cup, right? Making sure I get into those grooves. You want to make sure those grooves are really wet, so that the Mod Podge, once you press it down in there, it holds it, right? Because like I said, remember, you don't wrap it tight. You want to leave a little bit so you can stretch it and make sure it fits down in these grooves. So, and just going all the way around like that. And so once I get to this, back to the beginning, I always go all the way up to the rim, right? Go all the way to the rim, and I always make sure I get that overflow material. I just call it the overlap, right? That's at the top and the bottom, and that will make it so much easier to trim the material after it dries. So again, like I said, I'll do 3 coats, and then after 3 coats, the 3rd coat, I make sure I let that dry a solid 24 hours because I want this edge as hard as possible, so that when I get ready to shave it off, it's like shaving off the epoxy. It's nice and you get a nice clean cut. So, and yeah, so as you can see, I've got it all the way around, right? And I've got top and bottom. So from here, I don't know if you can see the wrinkles, but there they are, right? So here I will run my finger all the way around this seam to make sure that it's sealed. And down at the bottom there's a narrow one, so I'll do the same down there, right? Because you want the cup to look as natural as possible, or that's just me. I'm OCD like that. So I just run my finger around it to make sure that seam is completely, the material, the fabric is completely on the seam, right? So as you can see, it is there. And so see there, I don't know if you can tell, but there's an air bubble right there. So you always want to make sure you get those air bubbles out while it's wet and press out those wrinkles. So it's a little more work involved in this, but they come out so beautiful, especially the darker colors, they come out really nice. So yeah, as you can see, my little fingerprints all over here, which is fine because once I put it on my drying rack or my hangers rack, I'll take an empty brush and I will come back and I will go down. It'll be upside down. So I will pull everything one direction, right? And pulling it down. It also makes the material granular, and it gives it depth. So it looks like, oh wait, is that like material? Is that, you know, what is that? How did she get that in there? So it's definitely something different than what you get with the paint, the inks and glitter. Definitely different. So this does not want to cooperate. It happens sometimes. It's okay. So, and I've learned to wear gloves with this because let me tell you, because this is dishwasher safe Mod Podge, yeah, just a little water and soap does not get it off. Not like the rest of the Mod Podge. So with that, and as you can see, like the ends, I'm not worried about that. That's going to be cut off, right? So not too worried about what that looks like when it dries. I'm just concerned about my design area. Oh, and by the way, this is going to be a New Orleans Saints cup. I grew up in Tennessee. I moved to New Orleans, and I am a New Orleanian now. I know you can't tell because I don't sound like it, but I can go there if you want me to. Yeah, it's nothing for me to pick that accent up and start talking like I'm from New Orleans, you know. And it's easy for me to switch it on and off. I practiced a long time after moving to Houston to get rid of the Louisiana, the New Orleans accent. So it always comes back when I talk to my girlfriends there. So yeah, so that is it for the first stage. I'm not gonna I'll come back once this dries so you can see what this looks like right here. Yeah, so you can see what that looks like when it dries and why you don't want that to dry on the cup itself in your design area. So this streaking right here is okay, but you don't want that glob in there. Yeah. So with that, I will see you ladies in about a day and a half. Thanks.